Hello, ladies and gentlemen. How are you doing on this fine occasion? Today we're going to be talking about body positivity and why it sucks now, but it used to be good. Okay, so, one, disclaimer. You know, I don't care what you look like. I don't care, who you are. I don't care. I don't care. But the thing I care about is being annoyed and people who are annoying. I don't really care if somebody's fat, if someone's ugly, if some like you see how I look on the channel. I literally roll out of bed and I turn on a camera and I just talk. And usually I talk quite incriminately towards myself, which isn't even a word. See, I make a fool of myself on my channel all the time. Stupidity positivity right here. But, in general, I have nothing wrong with body positivity. I think it's actually very good, especially when you look at other forms of body positivity. We're really hyper focused on the concept of fat acceptance, but that is not, in my opinion, where body positivity started out. I do have some theories. I will run through them in a minute. But the current stage of body positivity, the current setup of body positivity is quite an atrocity. It's literally just people who are usually severely morbidly obese, proclaiming that it's their body and therefore their choice to abuse it through becoming super morbidly obese, not even just being overweight, but being super morbidly obese or incredibly physically unhealthy to a point where they either get sick and or have a potential risk of early death. I'm not a doctor, but I don't think you need to be a doctor to know that being 500 pounds can shorten your life. But then the other thing I'm trying to point out is it would be fine if someone, were positive about their body and blah, 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 super chill, whether they're 500 pounds or not, because at the end of the day, it's their body, they can do what they want with it. Problem I have is, and I think the problem that most of us have is the fact that these people like literally just ream the content down your throat. They go, you have to accept my body. You, the person who I'm pushing this on, have to accept my body. And I don't think it makes sense. One, you should never want to be accepted or have gratification from other people for just the way you physically look or the way you don't physically look. It's a terrible concept. You should always have people focus on you for your intelligence, your personality, your skills, never ever just for your body. Makes you basically an object, completely useless in the eyes of society, and no matter how you look, those looks go. No matter how gross you look, how great you look, it's gonna change. So, that's my personal opinion. But I think one form of body positivity started mainly because of like burn victims, victims of physical abuse, mutilation, etc. People who have something that physically they find shameful or have been shamed or bullied for in their lives, but they could not control. Deformities, anything like that you shouldn't be ashamed of. Like you did nothing wrong. You can't control that. Like, that's, I think, where a differentiation in the body positivity scheme started. It was one of those components, like one of those little setups, and then it slowly progressed over to the fat side. But I have one more theory, and I think this one's more accurate for the fat part of the body positivity, which is a big component of the body positivity community, and that is the eating disorder recovery community. And I say that lightly, but honestly, because I've seen that community. I've talked to people in that community, and I've definitely been in that community before. I know the setup of that community, and it's not good, like online, to be discussing your mental health with a bunch of strangers, my people. It's also not good to be discussing like eating disorders. And to be fair, eating disorder recovery is terrible. It sucks. Everybody relapses because the therapy is terrible. It's hard when you can get good therapy or good access to therapy. So I get why people talk about it online, but okay, whatever. Anyways, I think there's a threshold. But the point I'm trying to make is not to belittle anybody in eating disorder recovery. If you're doing that, fantastic. Just of what I'm trying to tell you, though, is I think that the fat acceptance movement came from the eating disorder recovery movement mainly because in eating disorder recovery, obviously you've got a lot of malnourished individuals, girls and, guys. Guys also get eating disorders. Girls and guys who come from either severely low body weights or, even just normal body weights or sometimes overweight body weights. And in either of these instances, a lot of the time when it comes to eating disorders, when you normalize eating patterns, you're going to gain weight no matter what. You're going to get fatter. And for somebody with an eating disorder, that's like their number one fear is getting fat, physical change, gaining weight. It's like a form of OCD when you see a scale go up, things like that. So it's a dramatic and horrifying concept for individuals with eating disorders. So what you have there is, the beginning of people having to accept their bodies for being bigger, for not being able to be a size -0, things like that. And I think this is where the body positivity movement came in, because that's where people started going like, I love my body, I'm accepting my body for being bigger, things like that. Totally understandable, because obviously these people have come from the restrictive and abusive concepts of, the exact opposite. You just mutilate your body on a cellular level to uphold what you believe is a beauty standard, only to find that now you have to accept it for being bigger until the end of your life, just because you're going to die if you keep going down on the scale, and keep using these abusive behavioral patterns. And I think that's where the body positivity community started. I think that's where it started with good intentions, was to accept yourself for not being able to be perfect, for not being able to be a size 0 or a perfect six-pack or, a 10 out of 10, in your own eyes. Because most people in real life don't care. But, you can become really delusional when you're, surrounded by other people, or, Hollywood or the internet with all of these crazy beauty standards. Your mind just gets warped, and you have no conceptualization of what is actually right. So I'm pretty sure that's where it came from. But the new fat acceptance community is not very good, and I don't have a problem. If somebody wants to be fat, I don't care. If somebody wants to be 500 pounds, I don't care. It has nothing to do with me, my life, my time, my weight, so I don't really care. But the one thing I have to point out is everybody is getting annoyed, and it's obvious because I see videos about it all the time. Everybody's getting annoyed that people are pushing it online, so much so to a point where it's negatively influencing other individuals who are impressionable, and they're telling people that they have to accept them. You have to accept me for being 500 pounds. You can't do, just the let ships pass-ism. You personally have to get on your knees and grovel for my weight. I've seen a little bit of that. It's really weird. It's not healthy. It is not healthy to look for gratification through just your body. It objectifies you entirely. It's a really negative concept. You should never ever expect nor desire the idea of people looking at you for just your body. They should look at you for your personality. They should look at you for your skills. They should look at you, for your, intelligence, your competence, your achievements, the things you can do, the things you can do in future, the things that you're working towards. They should never be able to look at you for your physical looks, like your body, your weight, your height, your size, your musculature. Those are important aesthetic variables that do dictate if people will initially like you, obviously, just because, first impressions are important in society. And it's also important for garnering, relationships, boyfriends, girlfriends, all that kind of stuff. But in general, you don't want to be an individual who literally, objectifies themselves all the time by going, I'm fat, let me shake it in front of the camera, accept me. Nobody's gonna want to accept it. You need another angle. Okay, I know it's gonna sound worse. My other microphone just cuts off all the audio, so I can't hear it even when I have headphones. I need to go into my internal settings or use a different microphone. For the time being, we're using my other garbage microphone. Whatever. Anyways, this is a TikTok. Let's break it down.
Oh my god, there's fat girls who are still scared to go to the doctor. Oh my god, there's fat girls who still need to take their emotional support water bottle to help them get through the doctor. Oh my god, there's fat girls who have to wear their Taylor Swift Crocs to be brave to go to the doctor.
I can't tell if she's being serious or not, which is already concerning. I don't know if you actually need an emotional support water bottle or whatever, or if you're just making a play on that. But if you are being serious, I'm not trying to be rude. It sounds a little silly. It's just, you know, people on the internet will make fun of you for this kind of thing. I don't understand why people post this. Although I don't understand what I post anyways, so I get it.
Not a fat girl having a little snacky snack before the doctor, because even though she has a restrictive eating disorder, and even though most doctors will tell her she has to lose weight, food is important and everybody needs to eat food.
Okay, I hate the tones. The tones are what are making her so dislikable, because what she just said there is not an indecent thing to say. People will laugh at her because she is overweight and has a restrictive eating disorder, but you do not need to be a low body weight to have a restrictive eating disorder. In general, you can actually have a restrictive eating disorder at any weight, and on top of that, you can also have the ability to eat food at any weight. And I see her eating a strawberry. I don't know why it has to be so condescending. Why, when you're eating a strawberry and talking about your restrictive eating disorder, you have to add all this tonal stuff, all these tones. It's gonna make people hate you. Even though, if you were just honest to a mic and just said, listen guys, I have a history of a restrictive eating disorder. I still eat food. I'm eating food now. I feel guilty when I do it because I know I'm overweight, or whatever the case may be. Maybe you don't feel guilty. You know, I hate the tones. It just makes everybody hate you more. It makes you unlikable unnecessarily, because the thing she's saying here are that she's scared. You know, people shouldn't be angry at you for being scared, but when you add these tones to your voice, like, they're gonna be more annoyed with you, or they'll pick flaw with you more when you're not even saying anything indecent, you know?
Not a fat girl getting to the doctor's office 20 minutes early because she has anxiety. I did it. It was hard.
It's sad. But honestly, it's not because you're just fat. It's because getting help when you have eating disorders, or, you know, getting help in general in a medical area, it's pretty difficult. Like, getting access, like medical access when you have an eating disorder, or psychological therapy or anything like that, any kind of therapy when you have an eating disorder, it's difficult. People have a lot of hard times acquiring this kind of assistance. So it's not just you, madam. It is not just you. It's just so disappointing because the tones make her so unlikable, but her voice sounds like she's from...
Doctor? Oh my god, there's fat girls who still need to take their emotional support water bottle to help them get through the doctor.
I don't know if it's like New Zealand. I don't know if it's Australia. I don't know if it's the UK. I'm just saying it's a socialist country. I'm from a socialist country as well. I think they're all socialist countries. You know, I know we all have different, like, political, you know, scenes and all that stuff. But getting medical help in general in these kinds of countries is way worse. It's way worse. It's an overly taxed system that relies on tax dollars to function. There is no private healthcare. It blows bubbles. I hate it. And that is where my tones will come from. Is if you ever mention Canadian medical to me, I will die without going to the doctor. I literally was like, I was more inclined to go to a Walmart and stitch myself up than go to a doctor's office in Canada. It's terrible. Terrible. Absolutely atrocious. I'll make that another video. Maybe we'll talk about that next video.
Fat people are allowed to eat what they want without feeling guilty about it. Get over it.
And why do you post it? I don't get it. Is it just to show, like, I can do what I want? Look at me. We all can do what we want. But the concept of having to post this to justify your own existence or the act of consumption is just disappointing. Nothing's stopping you from being able to consume, obviously. Like, it's really not that complex, and yet you have to justify it through posting a TikTok. It's just disappointing. And she's got, you know, like a breathing apparatus shoved in her nose, and I don't know the context, so obviously I could be wrong. It might not have anything to do with her weight, but I suspect it does. And I suspect it's because you're having trouble breathing at the body weight you're at. And honestly, what's more important? The ability to withdraw oxygen from the air, or the ability to eat a burger. I just don't understand, my people.
I'm just curious how me existing is glorifying obesity, but that guy is not? Do you think it's because he's thin?
It's not glorifying obesity, it's glorifying unhealthy behavioral patterns. Or glorifying with air quotes, because honestly, it depends on how you look at this for how things are going to be glorified. Personally, it's just you being a disappointment. It's a playful joke on the fact that you disappoint yourself with having had good intentions. The dude here is literally just making fun of the fact that he sucks. and the girl, she's saying glorifying obesity because the unhealthy foods pertain to obesity, when in reality they also don't have to and just can be unhealthy foods. So it's just, it's so rough. I hate this shit.
Is your life better? Are you happier? Is everything better now that you're slightly smaller than you were before?
Absolutely. And I'm not a little bit smaller, I'm a lot smaller. I can still have kids, and that may not have happened if I had stayed the size I was. Like, my question to you is, can you honestly say that you are 100% happy and healthy?
I think it's really interesting that I feel like I need to justify my existence in this race. No. I just think that the
Yo, that's why you came on the show, madam. Here's the context for this, because I've seen this clip before. I'm pretty sure it was like an I've had weight loss surgery girl versus an I'm into fat acceptance girl. One of them's not into fat acceptance, the other's into fat acceptance. And then there are a bunch of other people on both sides that are like, listen, I lost a bunch of weight and I do not regret it. Honestly, are you really that happy being fat? And then the other ones are like, we're happy being fat. Are you really happy having lost weight? And it's like, this is so subjective. It's like, no one's going to agree. They're just going to argue.
That how the way the discussion is running is very indicative of the general prevailing attitude towards fatness. And
yeah, the attitude is being too fat has a higher likelihood to cause a bunch of metabolic disorders and or lead to an early death. And people also don't like the way they look when they are morbidly obese. You can argue with the third, statement there and say, that's petty. But you're also kind of petty if you're constantly having to combat that perception through your alternative perception of having to accept everyone at whatever stage in life, whatever size they are, when at the end of the day, the hyper-focus is what's going to make it an absolute atrocity. At the end of the day, this doesn't really matter. I don't understand why so many people are so obsessed with just the way they look physically. It doesn't make any sense.
Losing weight for your health is not fat phobic, and if you think otherwise,
True.
you are fucking delusional.
That's the truth.
I don't normally stitch videos like this anymore because of how aggressively fat-phobic the internet is, but I have the time this morning, so let's get into it.
Oh my god, there's so many people in one TikTok. I hope the guy who's commentating will say something more than just laugh. But even if not, so far, 2 individuals just going hog wild.
Is losing weight for your health fat-phobic?
No.
Well, let's break it down.
It's not.
When you're told to improve your health, what are you told? In my experience, when I've had health issues, the first things I've been told is to lose weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, you know what, honestly, the guy's adding, there's probably the same amount of stuff as I'm gonna, so I'm sorry if I'm cutting him off, he's gonna say the same thing, but yes, if you have a health issue that relates to body weight, or you have a health issue that can be predominantly, exacerbated by body weight, a lot of them can, shocker, right, then, yeah, your doctor's gonna say, hey, lose weight. Also, your doctor's gonna recommend you lose weight, even if you're, just a little overweight, they'll tell you to be careful about it. A little underweight, they'll tell you to be careful about, losing more weight. Things like that. Your doctor wants you to be in that healthy range, that's just it.
That's good for
but
you.
Get this. Losing weight in and of itself does nothing for your health.
You're just lying.
You're actually, 100% actually just not accurate at all. Initial weight loss, even if you, fast for, 3 days, or you go, and eat a healthy diet for a week or whatever, you lose a little bit of weight. Most of the weight starts off by basically your fatty liver can decrease its fatty deposits. Your bloodstream can help, congeal with the splooge and goo of your fatty acids. And on top, and so also the fat you eat in meals circulates through the bloodstream to be metabolized. So if you just start eating healthy and lose a little bit of weight, that circulation decreases exponentially and increases blood flow. It's why, little bits of weight loss are also really good. Cholesterol levels also matter pertaining this with impotence, just saying. And then on top of that, your blood pressure can get lower, blood sugar can improve, you'll feel more energy usually, just a minute amount of weight loss. Even a minute amount. So it's very disappointing that people have this poor perception where it's oh, losing weight won't do anything for me. It very well could. You never know, but it definitely could. It's worth a shot.
All I can say is keep dropping those comments, lecturing us about hyperthyroiditis and Cushing syndrome. Clearly that's what this woman is dealing with.
I have a deal of appreciation for anybody at this point who adds commentary to TikToks. Because honestly, like, it's so annoying having somebody just like post their face over somebody else's TikTok, and the additional commentary is quite nice. As I also want to point out, like, this whole, like, you know, showing off all the stuff that you eat thing. Listen, like, eating all of that in one day is not initially bad. I don't understand why you have to broadcast it, and also, it's just one day out of your entire life. But overall, like, you should endeavor to live moderately. Which is why, again, I'm going to promote Marcus Aurelius' Meditations. Good book. It's my baby, my Bible. You know, it's always good to practice a little bit of moderation, a little bit of temperance. At the end of the day, some of that food looked pretty tasty, and it didn't look super unhealthy. So this is why it's just going to be a constant argument. It's like someone like me will say, oh, I'd probably eat the same thing one day. You know, it's just one day. Also, I'm having fun with all my friends, all that stuff. Yeah, have fun with it. Then we'll get back onto the good bandwagon the next day. Other people will be like, no, you shouldn't do that. It's terrible. And this person's going to be like, this is my everyday. Or another person. Maybe it's not this person, but they might be like, this is my everyday. So, you know, I just think it's really disappointing. If this is the constant scope of the internet where we're constantly fighting about being fat or not being fat, and if fat is healthy or not, we are in for a long haul. A long haul until we have some positive change. Some real positive change. You want to hear body positivity? Why don't we talk about intelligence positivity? It's like two AA batteries smacking together. Yeah, my people, I'm going to cut it here. That was the video. I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. It has been lovely, and I will see you next time. Slater.